The great throne room of the Zephyrian Empire stretched out like a metal canyon. Emperor Kralvesh sat on his crystal throne, watching the holographic map that floated in front of him. Thousands of star systems glowed in different colors. Red meant conquered. Blue meant under attack. Green meant ready for conquest. Most of the map was red. "Your Majesty," said General Thoxran, bowing his scaled head. "The War Council has finished studying the new target system. It is called Sol. The third planet has life." The Emperor leaned forward. His 6 arms moved as he spoke. "Tell me about these creatures." "They call themselves humans, Your Majesty. Very primitive. They have not even left their home star system. Their weapons are basic chemical explosives and simple nuclear bombs. Their ships use old-fashioned rocket fuel." The Emperor made a sound like laughter. "How many worlds do they control?" "Just one, Your Majesty. A single planet called Earth. One planet." The Emperor stood up, his massive form towering over the generals. "We control 12,000 worlds, and you bring me news of creatures that cannot even leave their home?" Admiral Vexter stepped forward. He was the Empire's most decorated military commander. His purple uniform was covered with medals from 100 successful conquests. "Your Majesty, our deep space sensors have been watching this system for months. They have detected no advanced technology, no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light travel." "Then why waste my time with this report?" "Because they are in the path of our expansion, Your Majesty. Sector Command wants to know if we should send a full battle fleet or just a small patrol group." The Emperor walked to the great windows that looked out over his capital city. Millions of buildings stretched to the horizon. Ships from 100 conquered species flew between the towers. This was the heart of the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. "How many species have we conquered in the last 1,000 years?" he asked. 47, Your Majesty," replied the court historian. "And how many of those put up any real fight?" "Perhaps 5 or 6 showed true resistance. The others surrendered quickly when they saw our power." The Emperor turned back to his war council. "These humans sound even weaker than the Trilaxians, and they gave up after we destroyed one of their moons." General Thoxran nodded. "Our intelligence reports say humans spend most of their time fighting each other. They have never united under one government. They waste resources on hundreds of small conflicts." "Perfect," said the Emperor. "They will be easy to break. Admiral Vexter, I am giving you this mission. Take 3 heavy cruisers and deal with this problem. Consider it training for your junior officers." Admiral Vexter bowed deeply. "Your Majesty honors me. How should I handle the conquest?" "The usual way. Destroy their military forces. Demand surrender. If they refuse, destroy one of their major cities as an example. They will submit quickly after that." The War Council murmured agreement. This was how the Empire had always operated. Show overwhelming force. Make an example. Accept surrender. It had worked on every species they had encountered. "Should we study their culture first, Your Majesty?" asked the intelligence chief. "Learn their weaknesses?" The Emperor waved a dismissive hand. "Why? They are primitive animals who have never seen real technology. What could we possibly need to learn? Their sticks and stones will bounce off our shields." Admiral Vexter was already planning the mission in his head. 3 heavy cruisers would be more than enough. Each ship could destroy a planet by itself. Against primitive humans with chemical rockets, it would be like crushing insects. "Your Majesty," said the court scientist, "there is one small detail. Our long-range sensors have detected some unusual energy readings from the edge of their system. Very faint and hard to identify. What kind of energy?" "Unknown, Your Majesty. But the readings are very weak. Probably just their primitive solar collectors or nuclear reactors." The Emperor dismissed this with another wave. See? Even their energy sources are pathetic. Admiral, how long will this mission take? No more than a few days, Your Majesty. Travel time will be longer than the actual conquest. Excellent. I want this finished quickly. We have real wars to fight against worthy enemies. I will not waste time on these humans. The holographic display zoomed in on the Sol system. Earth appeared as a small blue dot, surrounded by a few tiny moons and space stations. To the Zephyrians, it looked completely defenseless. No orbital weapons platforms. No defensive satellites. No energy shields protecting the planet. Look at it, said General Thoxran. They have not even built proper defenses around their homeworld. Any real spacefaring race would have ring fortresses and plasma cannons by now. They probably do not even know we exist, laughed another general. Imagine their surprise when our ships appear in their sky. Admiral Vexter studied the tactical data. Earth had approximately 8 billion humans. Their largest weapons were nuclear missiles with a range of only a few thousand kilometers. Their space fleet consisted of small research vessels and cargo ships. None of them appeared to have any weapons at all. This will be easier than the Centauri conquest, he told his aide. At least the Centaurians had laser cannons. These humans have nothing. The Emperor returned to his throne. Very well. Admiral Vexter, depart when ready. I expect a full report within 10 days. It will be my pleasure, Your Majesty. As the War Council dispersed, none of them noticed a small detail in their intelligence reports. Earth's deep space monitoring stations had detected their scout probes months ago. The humans knew the Zephyrians were coming, but the Empire's sensors showed all human vessels, exactly where they expected to find them. Around Earth, doing normal, primitive things. The Zephyrians had no idea that human technology was far more advanced than it appeared. They had no idea that humans had been watching the Empire's expansion for over a century. They had no idea that everything they thought they knew about humanity was exactly what the humans wanted them to think. Admiral Vexter prepared his fleet with confidence. 3 heavy cruisers against a primitive single-planet species. It would be a simple mission. He had no idea he was walking into the most carefully prepared trap in galactic history. Admiral Vexter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion. Through the great viewing window, he could see the other 2 ships in his small fleet. The cruisers Conqueror and Subjugator flew in perfect formation beside his vessel. All 3 ships were nearly 2 kilometers long and bristled with enough weapons to level continents. Admiral, reported his sensor officer, we are approaching the outer edge of the Sol system. The target planet should be visible soon. Good. Any signs of their primitive fleet? Several small vessels detected near the 3rd planet, sir. They match our intelligence reports. Simple chemical propulsion, no weapons, no shields. Vexter nodded with satisfaction. This mission would be even easier than expected. The humans had made no effort to intercept his fleet or even send a greeting message. They probably did not even know his ships were there. Admiral, we are receiving a wideband transmission from the planet, said the communications officer. It appears to be some kind of entertainment broadcast. Music and moving pictures. Ignore it. Probably their version of surrender negotiations. The Admiral had seen this before. Primitive species often tried to negotiate once they detected Imperial ships. It never worked. The 3 Zephyrian vessels moved deeper into the system. They passed several small rocky planets and an asteroid belt. Everything looked exactly as their intelligence reports had predicted. A boring primitive system with 1 inhabited world. Range to primary target? Asked Vexter. Approximately 4 hours at current speed, sir. Excellent. Signal the other ships. We will drop out of faster-than-light travel just outside their detection range and approach slowly. I want to see the fear in their eyes before we begin. But as the minutes passed, something began to bother the Admiral. His tactical display showed the expected human vessels near Earth, but they were not moving to intercept or even changing course. Most species at least tried to mount some kind of defense when they detected approaching warships. "Sensor reading confirmed, Admiral," reported his science officer. "The planet has approximately 8 billion inhabitants. Technology level matches our reports. We are detecting radio communications, primitive computer networks, and basic nuclear energy. Any signs of hidden weapons? Underground installations? Nothing, sir. If they have military forces, they are extremely primitive. We are picking up what appear to be small surface-based missile launchers, but they would not even scratch our paint." Admiral Vexter felt slightly disappointed. He had hoped for at least a small challenge to make this mission interesting for his junior officers. Instead, it looked like the humans would surrender without firing a shot. "Admiral," the sensor officer's voice suddenly became urgent. "I am detecting a massive energy spike directly ahead of us." "What kind of energy spike? Are they trying to activate some kind of weapon?" "Unknown, sir. The readings are..." "This is impossible." On the main display screen, space itself seemed to shimmer and bend. A dark area appeared in the void, growing larger by the second. Energy readings climbed far beyond anything in the Zephyrian database. "All ships, battle stations," ordered Vexter. "Ray shields and charge weapons." The dark area in space suddenly exploded with light. When the brightness faded, a massive shape hung in the void directly in front of the Zephyrian fleet. It was a warship like nothing the Empire had ever seen. The vessel was enormous, easily a kilometer long and bristling with weapon ports that glowed with strange energy. Its hull was a dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange angular designs covered its surface, and sections of the ship pulsed with blue-white energy. "Impossible," whispered the sensor officer. "Our long-range scans showed nothing in this area of space." This ship appeared from nowhere. "Admiral, the energy readings from that vessel are beyond our measurement scale," reported the science officer, his voice shaking. "Its power output is greater than all 3 of our ships combined." Vexter stared at the mysterious warship. This did not match any intelligence reports about human technology. The Empire's best sensors should have detected such a massive vessel from light years away. "Communication incoming from the unknown vessel." "Sir, put it on screen." The main display flickered, then showed the interior of what was clearly a ship's bridge. A human female in a dark uniform sat in the command chair. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. Behind her, other humans worked at control stations that displayed technology the Zephyrians did not recognize. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earth Starship Indomitable," the human said in perfect Zephyrian language. "You are trespassing in human space. Turn your ships around and leave immediately." Admiral Vexter was too shocked to speak for several seconds. The human knew their language. The ship had appeared from nowhere. The technology readings were impossible. "I am Admiral Vexter of the Zephyrian Empire," he finally replied. "You will surrender your vessel and submit to Imperial authority." Captain Chun's expression did not change. "Admiral, you have 30 seconds to begin turning your ships around. This is your only warning." "Warning?" Vexter began to laugh. "You are 1 ship against 3 Imperial cruisers. Even if your technology is more advanced than our reports suggested, you cannot win." "You misunderstand the situation, Admiral. We are not trying to win. We are trying to give you a chance to leave alive." The Admiral's anger flared. How dare this primitive human threaten him? "All ships target the unknown vessel. Prepare to fire on my command." "Admiral," his tactical officer interrupted. Our weapons cannot get a positive lock on the target. Their ship is generating some kind of interference field. Then fire anyway. Maximum power. The three Zephyrian cruisers opened fire simultaneously. Massive plasma bolts erupted from their main guns, each one capable of destroying a city. The energy beams struck the human ship, and nothing happened. The plasma bolts seemed to slide off the human vessel like water off glass. The ship's hull did not even glow from the heat. Impossible, breathed Vexter. Our weapons had no effect at all. Admiral, the communications officer called out. The human captain is trying to contact us again. Captain Chun's face appeared on screen once more. She looked slightly sad. You had your chance, Admiral. All human vessels, you are cleared to engage. All human vessels? Vexter looked around frantically. There is only one ship. Admiral, screamed the sensor officer. Multiple contacts materializing around us. I count 5, 10, 15 new vessels. On every side of the Zephyrian fleet, space began to shimmer and bend. One by one, massive human warships emerged from what appeared to be empty void. Each vessel was as large and imposing as the Indomitable, and all of them had weapons trained on the Imperial ships. Admiral, Vexter realized with growing horror that his fleet was completely surrounded. 16 human warships had appeared from nowhere, using technology that made Imperial sensors completely useless. How is this possible? He whispered. Our intelligence reports said they were primitive. Your intelligence reports, said Captain Chun from the main screen, told you exactly what we wanted them to tell you. The Admiral's blood turned to ice as he understood the truth. The humans had not just hidden their technology. They had deliberately fed false information to the Empire for who knew how long. Every report, every sensor reading, every intelligence assessment had been carefully crafted deception. Admiral, all human vessels are powering weapons, reported his tactical officer. Energy readings are off the scale. Vexter looked at the tactical display. His 3 ships were surrounded by 16 human vessels, each one more powerful than anything in the Imperial fleet. For the first time in his long military career, he was completely outmatched. Signal the other ships, he said quietly. Prepare for battle, and send an emergency transmission to Imperial Command. They need to know that everything we thought we knew about humans is wrong. The battle began badly for the Zephyrians and only got worse. Admiral Vexter watched in horror as his flagship's most powerful weapons bounced harmlessly off the human ships. Meanwhile, the enemy vessels moved through space in ways that defied everything he knew about physics. They turned without slowing down, accelerated without visible thrust, and seemed to predict his every tactical move before he made it. Evasive maneuvers. He shouted as blue energy beams lanced toward his ship. The Dominion's pilot threw the massive vessel into a desperate turn, but the human weapons followed their movement perfectly. The energy struck their shields and overloaded them instantly. Shields down to 60%, reported his defense officer. Admiral, their weapons are using some kind of space distortion technology. Our shields were not designed to handle this type of attack. On the tactical display, Vexter could see his other 2 ships faring even worse. The Conqueror was already trailing atmosphere from multiple hull breaches, and the Subjugator had lost all forward weapons. How are they moving like that? Demanded his pilot. No ship that size should be able to turn that quickly. Unknown, sir. They are not using any propulsion system in our database. It is like they are bending space around themselves instead of pushing through it. Admiral Vexter had fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy, but he had never seen anything like this. The human ships moved like living creatures rather than mechanical vessels. They seemed to know where his ships would be before they got there. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Conqueror, the communications officer reported. Captain Zexnall is requesting permission to retreat. Retreat where? Vexter looked at his tactical screen. The human ships had them completely surrounded. Every escape route was blocked by at least 2 enemy vessels. Signal all ships. Form defensive formation. Concentrate fire on the nearest human vessel. The 3 Zephyrian cruisers moved together and focused all their weapons on a single human ship. Dozens of plasma bolts and energy torpedoes struck the target simultaneously. For a moment, Vexter hoped they had finally found a way to penetrate the enemy's defenses. Then the human ship simply faded away like smoke. What happened to it? He demanded. Unknown, sir. It just vanished. No explosion, no debris. The ship is gone. Admiral. The sensor officer called out urgently. The missing vessel has reappeared behind us. The human warship materialized directly behind the Zephyrian formation and opened fire. Its weapons tore through the subjugator's rear shields and ripped massive holes in the hull. Atmosphere and debris scattered into space as the Imperial ship lost power to its main engines. They can become invisible, whispered Vexter. They are not just hiding from our sensors. They are actually making themselves invisible. Admiral, emergency transmission from Imperial Command, his communications officer reported. Emperor Krolvesh wants a status report. Tell His Majesty. Vexter paused, watching another human ship phase in and out of reality like a ghost. Tell him that everything our intelligence reports said about humans was wrong. They are not primitive. They have technology far beyond our own. As if responding to his words, the human ships suddenly stopped their attack and moved into a new formation. Instead of pressing their obvious advantage, they seemed to be waiting for something. Why did they stop firing? Asked his tactical officer. I do not know. Maybe they want us to surrender. Admiral, I am detecting new energy signatures at the edge of the system, the sensor officer reported. Multiple contacts approaching fast. On the long-range display, Vexter could see more ships entering the Sol system. But these vessels were not human. They were Imperial reinforcements. Admiral, this is Fleet Commander Gregthos, came a transmission from the approaching ships. We received your distress signal. I am bringing 12 additional cruisers and 4 battleships. Hold your position. Hold your position. Hope flared in Vexter's chest. 16 ships against 3 had been impossible odds, but 16 against 19 might be manageable. The human vessels were powerful, but they were still outnumbered. Admiral, his sensor officer said quietly, the human ships are not trying to escape. That was strange. Any rational commander would retreat when faced with overwhelming reinforcements. Instead, the human vessels were moving into new positions around the battlefield. Maybe they do not know about our reinforcements yet, suggested the tactical officer. Sir, the communications officer interrupted. We are receiving a transmission from the human commander. Captain Chun's face appeared on the main screen again. She looked completely calm despite being outnumbered. Admiral Vexter, I see your friends have arrived. Before this goes any further, I think you should understand something important. What are you talking about, human? Your reinforcements are not a surprise to us. We detected Fleet Commander Gregthos' S-ships 3 hours ago when they left Imperial space. We have been tracking them since they entered faster than light travel. Vexter felt cold fear creep up his spine. That is impossible. Our ships use encrypted navigation protocols. You could not have detected them from this distance. Admiral, we have been watching the Zephyrian Empire for over 100 years. We know where all your ships are at all times. We know your tactics, your weapons, your strategies. We have been preparing for this day since we first learned you existed. The implications of her words hit him like a physical blow. You have been spying on us? For a century? Not spying, Admiral. Studying, learning, getting ready. On his tactical display, Vexter watched as more contacts appeared around the Imperial reinforcements. Human ships materialized from empty space in perfect positions to surround the new arrivals. Fleet Commander Greythos suddenly found himself outnumbered 2-1. "This is impossible," Vexter breathed. "How many ships do you have?" "Enough," Captain Chun replied simply. "Admiral," his communications officer called out urgently. "Emergency transmission from the Imperial capital. Emperor Krolvesh himself wants to speak with you." The display switched to show the Emperor's throne room. Krolvesh looked shaken, which was something Vexter had never seen before. "Admiral, what is your status?" the Emperor demanded. "Your Majesty, the mission has encountered complications. The humans are not what our intelligence reports indicated. They have advanced technology and appear to have been monitoring our empire for an extended period." "How extended?" Before Vexter could answer, Captain Chun's voice cut into the transmission. "Your Majesty, this is Captain Chun of Earth Defense Command. I believe Admiral Vexter is trying to tell you that we have been watching your expansion for over a century." The Emperor's 6 eyes widened in shock. "How are you intercepting this transmission?" "We have been intercepting your communications for decades, Your Majesty. We know about your military plans, your expansion schedules, and your assessment of various species throughout the galaxy." Emperor Krolvesh was silent for several long moments. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "What do you want?" "That is a much better question, Your Majesty. But I think we should discuss it in person. Admiral Vexter, please prepare to receive a boarding party. It is time for the Zephyrian Empire to learn exactly who they have been dealing with." As the transmission ended, Vexter realized the terrible truth. The Empire had not stumbled upon a primitive species ready for conquest. They had walked into a carefully planned trap set by a civilization that had been studying them for generations. The hunters had become the hunted, and they had not even known they were being watched. The boarding shuttle that approached the Dominion was unlike anything in the Imperial database. It moved without visible engines and passed through the Zephyrian ship's shields as if they were not there. Admiral Vexter watched nervously as the strange craft attached itself to his vessel's main docking bay. "Should we resist, Admiral?" asked the security chief. Vexter looked at his tactical display. 30 human warships now surrounded the combined Imperial fleet. Resistance would be suicide. "Stand down, all weapons. Let them board." Captain Chun entered the Dominion's main conference room with only 2 guards. She moved with confident ease, like someone walking through her own ship rather than enemy territory. Her guards carried weapons that hummed with unknown energy. "Admiral Vexter," she said, sitting down across from him at the metal table. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." "I do not think I had much choice," Vexter replied. He studied the human commander carefully. She appeared younger than most Imperial officers of equivalent rank, but her eyes held the confidence of someone who had fought many battles. "You always have choices, Admiral. Right now, you can choose to listen to what I have to tell you, or you can choose to remain ignorant while your empire crumbles around you. Our empire has existed for 3,000 years. It controls 12,000 star systems. You are one species on one planet." Captain Chun smiled, and the expression was not reassuring. "Admiral, let me show you something." She placed a small device on the table. A holographic display materialized above it, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Thousands of star systems appeared as colored dots. "This is your empire as you see it," Chun said. Red dots marked Zephyrian-controlled systems. "Impressive, is it not? 12,000 worlds under Imperial rule. Indeed it is. Now let me show you your empire as we see it." The display changed. New dots appeared throughout the galaxy. Blue ones. Hundreds of them scattered through Imperial space. What are those blue markers? Vexter asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. Human observation posts, research stations, intelligence gathering facilities. We have been watching your empire from the inside for over a century. The Admiral stared at the display in growing horror. There were blue dots in some of the Empire's most secure sectors. This is impossible. Our security forces would have detected foreign installations. Would they? Tell me, Admiral, how carefully do you examine every asteroid mining operation? Every deep space research station? Every maintenance depot on the outer edges of your systems? Vexter's mouth went dry. The Empire was vast, containing millions of such facilities. It would be impossible to personally inspect them all. You have been hiding in plain sight, he whispered. For 97 years, Admiral. Ever since our deep space telescopes first detected your expansion into the Rigel sector. Chun touched the device, and the display zoomed in on a specific region of space. This is where we first saw you destroy the Altarian homeworld. 8 billion people died when you cracked their planet's core. The image showed a planet breaking apart, its pieces scattering into space. Vexter remembered the battle. The Altarians had refused to surrender, so the Empire had made an example of them. That is when we knew you would eventually come for us. Chun continued. So we began preparing, by spying on us, by learning everything about you. Your technology, your tactics, your politics, your weaknesses. We studied every battle you fought, every species you conquered, every mistake you made. The display changed again, showing detailed schematics of Imperial warships. Every specification was perfect, down to the smallest components. These are classified designs, Vexter said. How did you obtain them? Admiral, we built your last 3 generations of ships. The words hit him like a physical blow. What? Who do you think operates those asteroid mining facilities that produce your hull metal? Who runs the research stations that develop your new weapons? Who maintains the automated factories that build your vessels? Chum stood and walked to the conference room's viewing port. Through it, Vexter could see the human fleet surrounding his ships. For nearly a century, humans have been quietly infiltrating your supply chains, your research facilities, your manufacturing centers. Every advancement in Imperial technology for the past 50 years has been guided by us. That is impossible. Our scientists would have noticed. Would they? What a breakthrough comes from their own research teams using their own facilities with their own materials. When the innovations are introduced gradually over decades. Vexter thought about the Empire's recent technological improvements. Better shields, more efficient engines, improved weapon systems. All had seemed like natural progressions of Imperial science. We helped you become more efficient, Chun explained. More predictable. Every ship you build uses components we understand perfectly. Every weapon you carry has weaknesses we know how to exploit. The display showed a new image, the current battle. The human ships moved with perfect coordination while the Imperial vessels struggled to respond effectively. Your ships cannot target ours because we designed your targeting systems. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields because we know exactly how they work. Your tactics fail because we wrote the training manuals your officers studied. Admiral Vexter felt sick. The Empire's entire military doctrine had been compromised. Why? Why go to such lengths instead of simply building a defensive fleet? Because, Admiral, we learned something important from watching your conquests. Military force alone is not enough. The Altarians had a powerful fleet, and you destroyed them. The Centaurians had advanced weapons, and you conquered them anyway. Chung returned to her seat. But what you cannot conquer is an enemy that knows everything about you while you know nothing about them. An enemy that has been preparing for your arrival since before you knew they existed. The other species you mentioned. The ones in your expansion path. What happened to them? We evacuated the ones who wanted to leave, helped others hide on uncharted worlds. Some chose to fight alongside us, adding their knowledge to ours. The display showed dozens of species that Imperial records listed as extinct or scattered. All were alive and thriving under human protection. You have been building an alliance, Vexter realized. We have been building something your empire has never faced before, Admiral. A coalition of species that knows your weaknesses and has had decades to prepare for your arrival. How many species? 47 that you have encountered. Perhaps 100 more that you have not. All of them sharing intelligence, technology, and resources. The implications were staggering. The Empire had believed it was conquering empty space or primitive worlds. Instead, it had been walking into an ever-tightening web of enemies who knew every move it would make. What do you want? Vexter asked. The same question the Emperor had posed. An end to Imperial expansion. Your empire can keep what it has, but no more conquests. No more genocide. No more planets cracked open to make examples. The Emperor will never agree to that. Admiral, the Emperor no longer has a choice. As we speak, human fleets are emerging from hiding throughout Imperial space. Every major military installation, every shipyard, every command center is being surrounded by vessels like the ones outside your ship. The display showed the galaxy again. This time, thousands of blue dots appeared near every red one. The Empire's entire military infrastructure was under threat simultaneously. This is impossible, Vexter said weakly. No one could coordinate an operation of this scale. No one except the species that has been planning it for a century, Admiral. Humanity is very good at long-term thinking. Captain Chun stood to leave. I suggest you contact Emperor Krolvesh. He has some difficult decisions to make, and not much time to make them. As the human commander reached the door, Vexter called out to her. Captain, why tell me all this? Why reveal your secrets? Chun paused and looked back at him. Because, Admiral, the war is already over. The only question now is how many people die before your emperor accepts that fact. After she left, Admiral Vexter sat alone in his conference room, staring at the holographic display. The blue dots seemed to mock him, representing decades of imperial blindness and human patience. The Empire had thought it was hunting prey. Instead, it had been herded into a trap by predators far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Emperor Krolvesh stood in his private chamber, looking out at the capital city of his empire. For the first time in 3,000 years of imperial history, enemy ships hung in the sky above the homeworld. Dozens of human vessels had materialized from nowhere, their dark hulls blocking out sections of the stars. Your Majesty, said his aide nervously, the human commander is requesting another audience. The Emperor had been avoiding Captain Chun's calls for 6 hours, hoping his military advisors could find some solution to the impossible situation. They had not. Reports from across the Empire told the same story. Human fleets had appeared simultaneously at every major Imperial installation. Shipyards, command centers, weapons facilities, and supply depots were all surrounded. Very well. Put her transmission through to the throne room. Krolvesh walked slowly through the corridors of his palace, past portraits of dozens of previous emperors. All had expanded the empire's borders. All had added new conquests to imperial glory. He would be the first to preside over its limitation. The throne room was nearly empty. Most of his advisors and generals had fled when the human ships appeared. Only his most loyal officials remained, and they looked terrified. Captain Chun's image appeared on the great display screen. Behind her, Admiral Vexter sat at a conference table, looking defeated. The sight of his captured officer made the Emperor's hearts sink further. Your Majesty, Chun said respectfully. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. What are your terms, human? Krolvesh asked bluntly. There was no point in pretending he still held any negotiating power. Simple, Your Majesty. The Zephyrian Empire will cease all expansion immediately. You will withdraw from any systems you have invaded in the past year and allow their populations to choose their own governments. You will open diplomatic relations with the species you have conquered and begin discussing reparations for the damage you have caused. And if I refuse, then your empire will fall, Your Majesty. We have spent a century preparing for this moment. Your military infrastructure is compromised, your supply lines are cut, and your technology is obsolete compared to ours. The Emperor looked around his throne room at the few remaining advisors. None of them met his eyes. You would destroy 12,000 years of civilization? We would prevent you from destroying anyone else's civilization, Your Majesty. What you choose to do with your existing worlds is up to you. Chun's image zoomed out to show a larger view of her ship's bridge. Dozens of officers from different species worked at control stations. Kralvesh recognized some of them as species the Empire had supposedly conquered or destroyed. As you can see, this is not just a human operation. We speak for 47 species that have suffered under Imperial rule, plus many others who chose to join our alliance rather than face your expansion. An alliance, the Emperor repeated bitterly. You have built an alliance while we built an empire. Yes, Your Majesty. And we have learned that willing cooperation is far stronger than forced submission. General Thoxran, one of the few military officials still present, stepped forward. Your Majesty, perhaps we could negotiate a gradual withdrawal. Maintain some of our outer territories while giving up the more recent conquests. Captain Chun's expression did not change. General, you misunderstand the situation. This is not a negotiation. This is a choice between accepting our terms or watching your empire collapse completely. To demonstrate her point, the display switched to show images from across Imperial space. Human ships surrounded every major military installation. Some showed Imperial fleets trying to break through the blockades, only to be effortlessly defeated by technology they could not match. Your shipyards are shut down, Chen continued. Your communication networks are under our control. Your supply convoys are being intercepted. Even if you wanted to continue fighting, you lack the resources to sustain a war. Emperor Krolvesh watched the images of his fleets being systematically disabled. Ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds were being neutralized by vessels that appeared and vanished like ghosts. How long? He asked quietly. How long what, Your Majesty? How long have you been planning my empire's destruction? 97 years, 2 months, and 16 days, Chun replied without hesitation. Since the day we watched you destroy the Altarian homeworld. The precision of her answer was somehow more terrifying than the number itself. Nearly a century of patient preparation, all focused on this moment. Your Majesty, his communications minister interrupted. We are receiving surrender requests from our outer territories. They are asking permission to negotiate separately with the human forces. Kralvesh closed his eyes. His empire was not just being defeated. It was dissolving from within as planetary governors chose survival over loyalty. Captain Chun, he said finally, if I accept your terms, what guarantee do I have that you will not simply destroy us anyway? You have the guarantee of a species that could have destroyed you at any time over the past century, but chose instead to give you this opportunity to change. Change, the Emperor repeated. The word felt foreign in his mouth. Your Majesty, the Zephyrian people are not our enemies. Your government's policies are what we oppose. There is no reason your species cannot become a productive member of the galactic community. A member, not a ruler. Yes, Your Majesty. One voice among many, rather than the only voice that matters. Emperor Kralvesh looked around his throne room one more time. The crystal throne that had been occupied by his ancestors for 3 millennia suddenly seemed like a relic of a bygone age. "What happens to me?" he asked. "That depends on your choices going forward, Your Majesty. Leaders who work toward peaceful coexistence tend to live longer than those who do not." The message was clear without being explicitly threatening. "Very well," Krolvesh said at last. "I accept your terms. The Zephyrian Empire will cease all expansion and enter into negotiations with the affected species." "Thank you, Your Majesty. You have made the right choice." "Captain Chun, I have one question for you." "Yes?" "What would have happened if we had never attacked your system? If we had simply continued expanding in other directions?" Captain Chun was quiet for a moment before answering. "Eventually, Your Majesty, you would have encountered another species with the same reaction we had. The universe is full of civilizations that do not appreciate being conquered, but you were the first to be ready for us. We were the first to have enough time to prepare properly." Yes, the transmission ended, leaving Emperor Krolvesh alone with his thoughts and his handful of remaining advisors. "Your Majesty," General Thoxran said quietly, "what are your orders?" "Begin the withdrawal from our newest territories. Contact our planetary governors and inform them they are to cooperate fully with human representatives." "And General?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Find out everything you can about how they did this. I want to understand how an entire empire can be outmaneuvered so completely." 3 months later, Admiral Vexter stood on the bridge of a human patrol vessel, watching as the last Imperial forces withdrew from the Rigel sector. As part of the agreement, he had been assigned to work with human commanders to ensure the transition proceeded peacefully. "Admiral," said Commander Williams, "the human officer in charge of this sector, the Altarian survivors are ready to return to their new home world." Through the viewing port, Vexter could see ships carrying the descendants of people his empire had taught extinct. They were coming home to a world the humans had prepared for them, while the empire believed them scattered and broken. "Commander, may I ask you something?" "Of course, Admiral. Was any of this real? Our expansion, our conquests, our empire? Or were we just playing parts in a story you were writing?" Commander Williams considered the question carefully. "Your empire was real, Admiral. The suffering you caused was real. The power you wielded was real. But the ultimate outcome, that was decided the day humanity chose to take the long view instead of seeking immediate revenge." "Revenge for what?" "For the Altarians. For the Centaurians. For every species you destroyed while we watched and learned and prepared." Vexter nodded slowly. "We thought we were apex predators. We were actually being studied by something much more dangerous. Not more dangerous, Admiral. More patient." As the last Imperial ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the sector in human hands, Vexter realized the full scope of what had happened. The Empire had fallen not to superior weapons or overwhelming force, but to an enemy that thought in centuries while they thought in years. The galaxy's greatest empire had been defeated by humanity's greatest strength. The ability to plan for tomorrow while enduring today. And in the end, perhaps that was exactly what the universe needed.